YouTube. This video is going to be an unsponsored product review for the Victorinox Swiss Army knife. This model is called the Tinker model and its item number is 1.4603. Now before we talk about it, I have to take back what I said about using this as some kind of a substitute for melee defensive. The big problem when it comes for something like this as melee defensive in the category of folding blades is the deployment. So most martial arts must have a reasonable source of deployment. The weapon should be able to be deployed with ease and without too much difficulty. Now the problem with this in terms of a folding blade is that the large and the small blade, there's an indentation on them and it's very small and it's very difficult to get out if you're not really focused on it. And so what we're talking about essentially is gross motor skills and fine motor skills. And it's very unlikely that anybody, myself included, would be able to, pull out the knife, locate the blade you want, and then, using that indentation, get the blade out. So the deployment is very difficult, and that is a key component you want to consider in most defensive arts. Now folding blades are still in the category of melee defensive. I just want you to consider, the deployment of the folding blade should be reasonable and easily accessible. I've had folding blades before where there's either kind of like this, a knob that you can just kind of push out and the knife comes out very easily. It's deployed very quickly, and that wouldn't happen. That would be the case with something like this. Another reason why I've kind of taken this out for consideration for melee defensive is the program compliance. So program compliance is really having the object with you all the time, and as a subset to be in a designated place. So for me, I don't keep this in a designated place on its own. I actually put it on my keys. So as you can imagine, if I even have it on me, because it's going to be on my keys, right? And it would be in my jacket. So okay, fine. I magically have my jacket on me. So I pull it out and then I'm able to locate the large blade and pull it out, right? But it's still connected to my keys. And so that's extra weight, right? That's extra weight here, which is going to affect how it's used. And so that's an example of program compliance, is that, I'm kind of hindering myself already in the way that I have it with me. And then also, as the second aspect of program compliance, having a designated spot for this, I wouldn't, have this in a separate pocket on its own. I have my wallet in one pocket, I have my phone in the other pocket. There's no place that I would have this as a designated place on its own. It's not like you have a holster for your gun and it's going to be there, or if you have like that baton that I have, I can slip that in a pocket and it's in a designated area, and it's a pretty big object, so not much fine motor skill is used. But even if I want to do that with this, okay, so I have to put it in a separate pocket, right? And then I have to draw that out and then locate the large blade and then pull it out by that tiny indentation. I'm talking about like right there. That's the tiny indentation that you have to locate if you want to take the blade out. So those two reasons are why I've kind of removed this from my consideration for melee defensive. And just to talk a little bit about, history, most warriors in the past have always had their weapons on them. You know what I mean? It's not like today where, a lady can put a gun in her purse and then the purse is not on her, right? Because she'll take it off, type of thing, right? Whereas any martial art in the past, if you had a sword, it was on you, right? There was some kind of holster on your waist or some kind of holster on your back. Same thing with the spear or a dagger, right? The weapon has to have a specific designated place on the body that's on you at all times, right? And again, with the gross motor function, it should be large enough that you're able to locate the item right? It's pretty easy to locate your gun from your holster or a fixed blade on your belt, and this item is just, it's a good utility item, but I think I was sorely mistaken in considering it as having, in my opinion, effective defensive use. In fact, now that I think about it, when I was looking at these at shields, the only thought I had in my mind was utility. I was never thinking of, oh, here's something that could be a defensive weapon or would have a main purpose of a defensive weapon. It was like, oh, what are all the things it has? The different kinds of tools that Swiss Army knives have. And so, on that note, as I mentioned, this is the Tinker model, item number 1.4603. Now, I do believe if you want kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit shorter by 0.3 inches and a little bit lighter by 0.3 ounces, I believe that's called the Tinker Small model. And the item number for that is 0.4603. Now, considering how small this item already is, you can actually get two more functions, which would be a scissors and a multi-purpose hook, and it would only cost you about 0.1 inches in height and 0.8 ounces in weight, and that is the Super Tinker, and the model number for that is 1.4703. Now, on the Victorinox website, which I think it's SwissArmyKnives.com, their Swiss Army knives come in 3 sizes. This is actually medium, so you can get something smaller than this, and then it also has a large size Swiss Army knife as well. Now, when looking at all the models, at least at the store at the time, what I could tell generally was that the small Swiss Army knives tend to be more for like grooming and then maybe some kind of business. They had things like nail filers, nail cleaners, and then like a ballpoint pen, so a little bit like kind of out there abstract. The medium one, like this one, it kind of has more stuff that was more in line of what I thought was useful. It has like 2 screwdrivers, a Phillips screwdriver, it has a large blade, small blade, just kind of like more useful utility stuff, which is why I ended up with a medium frame one. And then the large frame one, it has other things too, but I feel like its use is mostly going to be as a fixed blade. And I would also consider going to a different company for a fixed blade or folding blade. Folding blades, not fixed blades. Just because I feel like, Victorinox in the name, you're going to be paying a lot more for the word and the brand than the actual folding blade. So I think you can pretty much get kind of the same thing with a designated purpose at a cheaper price. Now, I didn't intend to get a Swiss Army knife that time that I was at Shields. I was just there and they had a whole section and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I was looking through them all for probably too long. And again, looking through the different tools they had, I just knew I was kind of floating towards more, utility items. It never hurts to have, blades, more than one blade for sure. I would like it to have 2 blades. It's very easy for blades to dull out if you use it often, so having 2 blades is, it's never a bad idea. I wanted more utility tools, can opener, bottle opener, things like that. I also wasn't looking for a fixed blade, or at least, a folding edge blade. That's why with the large Swiss Army knives, I kind of browsed at it and then I just lost interest because it was kind of already out of the zone of what I was looking for. Now, as for the tools themselves, on the Tinker model and the Tinker Small, it has the same tools, just a little bit. You will get a large blade, small blade, can opener, 3mm flathead screwdriver, bottle opener, 6mm flathead screwdriver, a wire stripper, reamer, punch and sewing awl, a Phillips screwdriver, which appears to be a number 2 to me, toothpick, tweezers, and key ring. Now, if you go to the Swiss Army Knives website, you can pretty much, they have it all there. They have all the possible options they have for the small frame Swiss Army knives, medium frame Swiss Army knives, and then the large frame Swiss Army knives. So I would definitely, you know, go ahead, take a look, check it out. Find things that you feel would be useful to you. For example, I saw one that had like kind of like a corkscrew opener that you would use for alcohol, and you know, I hardly drink, at least I shouldn't drink, and so you know, that would be something that that doesn't really apply to me. You know, I think I saw another one. It kind of like had a saw, you know, like a mini saw. That was kind of neat, but again, it's like, you could also just buy a real saw, you know. I thought that way with the scissors too, but granted that, you know, the Super Tinker, at the cost of $10 more, you know, you would get that scissor and that multi-purpose hook, but I mean, I've never really found myself with, I really wish I had a pair of scissors right now. Although, you know, it would be pretty useful if you had to like cut something, the strings on clothes. But I mean, you can chop that off with like, with a small blade too, you know? So, I mean, honestly, if Shields ever has fair price ammo, I probably will just go in there and grab the Super Tinker if they have it. But, you know, it's fun. It was fun and interesting to look at the different tools that they have. But yeah, let me know. Do you guys have your own Swiss Army knives? What were you looking for when you purchased it? Or maybe you were into like the collection. On their website, they have a huge collection model, which, I mean, that's cool too. If you're into that, that's pretty neat. But I'm more of a utility guy myself, so I just ended up getting stuff that may or may not be useful to me. I think the most I've used is really the large blade to cut open oranges. I hope this video was helpful to you, and of course I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Subscribe. You better. Just kidding.
Stop it. Get some help.